Just watch this clip and see how fast we can get our super back. Single Consecration Slam, 75% of our super coming from Fresh. So the next 2 slams, we'll have the super. With the buffs to roaming supers this week for Act 2 of Episode Revenant, we want to take the super generation for roaming supers even higher, and we're going to do that with Cuirass of the Falling Star. I'm Engineer. Let's get into the build. I want to talk about the exotic that we're using today, and it's Cuirass of the Falling Star. We're not going to use the first perk at all because it only benefits Thundercrash, which is a great super, but we're focused on roaming supers today. Just absolutely juicing that roaming super energy generation. So the second part of the perk will let you get super energy anytime you get melee kills while amplified. These do not have to be powered melee kills. They can be normal punches. You just need to be amplified and punch stuff, which Titans are very good at. Now to get this exotic, you need to own Beyond Light, and then you can either do precision focusing, like from Rahul, or Vex Strike Force on the Amuna. As for stat priorities to focus on with this, you want to get resilience because you're a Titan, and damage resistance is good on every class too. You want strength to get those melees up more often, then recovery for health regeneration, discipline because it's always good, and just a little bit of intellect is your last priority. Now, over to the aspects and abilities, we need to use Knockout. The reason we need that is because when we get a melee kill, we get amplified, and that's how this perk works. So the first kill will make you amplified, everything after that, super energy. This will also give you some boost to melee damage, it'll give you some healing. It's our main source of healing on Prismatic Titan, so pretty much required aspect for Titans, unfortunately. Now, for our second aspect, it's Consecration. You know it, you love it, you might be tired of it, I'm a little tired of it, but Consecration is very good. It does a very large area of effect, does fantastic damage, it's honestly on par with some supers, and you can have really high uptime thanks to Transcendence. Now for your grenade, you can take whatever you want. I take Glacier Grenade to balance out Darkness Transcendence energy, and it has a shorter cooldown than Shackle Grenade. For the melee, you want Frenzy Blade because you're using Consecration, and you want 3 charges. Class ability, pretty flexible. I usually take Thruster for mobility, but if I'm in a boss situation, then I might take like Rally Barricade. Moving over to the Fragments, pretty standard things here. We're going to take Faceted Protection for damage resistance. We take Faceted Bounce to get a little bit more melee energy when we get those rapid kills. Faceted Ruin will just make the ignitions from Consecration a little bit bigger. It's the main thing we're focusing on there. Faceted Purpose will give us a damage resistance source when we pick up orbs. If we are running the Glacial Quake, as you saw in the gameplay clip, then you would get Frost Armor, but you can also run Blade Fury and get Woven Mail, so you have some options here. Now for our last fragment, out of the 5, you have a few options here. So Faceted Sacrifice will help balance out your Transcendence energy. It'll give you some more Darkness Transcendence energy if you have any buff like Amplified, which we always have. There's also Faceted Blessing, which will give you just a little bit more healing and also heal your allies. So that can be nice, but Knockout's already kind of doing that. One fragment I want to bring up is Faceted Generosity, and this lets you, while Transcendent, spawn up to 4 very juiced super orbs. And these can give 7.15% super energy. And these are just for your allies, but that's, if you spawn all 4 of those and your teammates get them, that's 28% of their super, which is just crazy. But you do have to slay out. I mean, you're on average, you need to get 10 minor kills per orb. So that can be a lot, but definitely something to consider, especially in this kind of new roaming super meta. Moving over to mods and armor stats, pretty standard mod setup here. We're just juicing our abilities. We want to make sure that we have those kind of coming in consistently. And we're also just trying to build out super energy. So we want 2 hands-on the helmet to get as much super out of those Consecration slams. In all my roaming super videos, I'm going to recommend Power Preservation on the helmet because it will make additional orbs every time you get a super kill, which with roaming supers we do a lot. So that's extra orbs for your teammates, and that's just really good for team synergy. On your hands, you want to take at least 2 heavy-handed so that you can keep making those orbs. And I took a momentum transfer here just to get you more melee energy. Chest is for resistance. Legs, just get some ability energy back from those orbs, and recuperation for the extra healing. On your class item, Powerful Attraction is always great to pick up those orbs so we can get the super faster. And I'll stick Reaper just for one more source of orbs. Now, your stat priority, pretty similar to what I recommended for the exotic. Focus on resilience, focus on strength, Thinking as much recovery and discipline as you can, and as always, keep intellect to 30. Briefly want to talk about weapons. Weapons are pretty flexible here. I don't think I fired a single weapon in that gameplay clip I showed you. One weapon that's always good with melee focused builds is Monte Carlo. One more thing too is that with active super generation buffs for roaming supers, using things like very strong exotic primaries can get your super back very quickly. And it's all just based on damage. So whichever exotic primary does most damage for you, Kvostov's great for groups, Outbreak Perfected's great for bosses. And then if you have really tight crowd, the Bad Juju can be great because of the explosions, and it also gives extra super energy. Other than that, use whatever weapons you want in your energy and heavy slots, but think about kinetics because they have an innate damage boost over normal elemental weapons, and just really you're trying to crank as much DPS as possible to get that super energy from weapons. Now, here's a bit of a longer gameplay loop just so you can see me playing it. This is just the beginning of Tomb of Elders. It's kind of a scattered encounter with a bunch of enemies, and it's a little bit chaotic, but I kind of like it as an example just because it's not very, it's a little bit frantic, and you kind of have to be flexible, and you have to survive when getting shot from a bunch of different directions. As you can see here, we're just generally consecrating. I'm using Glacier Grenade, which has pretty good AoE, and if you get a Consecration Slam on it, all those crystals shatter instantly, which is fantastic. Shoot the Monte Carlo a little bit to get the melee charge back. Boom. Mini boss type enemy just nuked, and the supers are recharged, and we're using it. I'm using Glacial Quake. I mentioned this earlier, all roaming supers work. You have 3 options on Prismatic Titan. You can take Glacial Quake, Blade Fury, which is the strand one, or you can take Hammer of Soul if you want to take that one. Just have a little bit more range. It's still a roaming super, so all are very viable options. Just use what makes sense for your situation. So we've used up the first super, and we're just continuing on. Enemies are kind of packing up a little bit so we can consecrate. We've got our Transcendence back. Generally just pop this when you're out of your melee charges, because it'll instantly pop you to 3 charges at once. So you can use up what you have and use it again, and just really keep that melee looping over and over again. The boss of this encounter has finally spawned, so we're just trying to work back up to that super. And the supers are recharged again. It's 2 supers in about 2 minutes or so. It's just really fantastic. And we're just throwing as many crystals around this mini boss as possible. Unfortunately, he flies, which is really unfortunate for me. But we can kind of plant a bunch of crystals under him so he lands into him. He does. Manages to evade some of them, so 1 more consecration. Maybe 2. And just 1 more finishing off slam. Now, just briefly going over the gameplay loop, you want to get a melee kill to gain amplified. You just continue getting those melee kills to charge your super. It can happen very fast. I've got as quick as about 17 seconds, but usually about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the enemy spawns. Use Transcendence for even more melee spam, and just keep repeating that loop. So with roaming supers, you'll get them back very quickly. Now for boss damage, you're using a boss DPS exotic. You can swap to Thundercrash, get that 55% damage boost. If for some reason that doesn't work, you can use Twilight Arsenal. You'll still generate that super quickly. Very versatile exotic. But if you are doing boss damage, you might want to swap your mods around for weapon surges for your heavy, just to really maximize that damage. I'll probably include a build link for boss damage as well, so you can have that for your reference. But that's all I've got. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and hopefully you can use this to slam a bunch of enemies and get your supers back really quickly. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and once again, I appreciate you watching the videos. Thanks, have a good one.